Hello,
Jay.
hi. Thanks for
Hey.
talking to me. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the mid-season finale.
Oh, thank you.
Since we have 10 minutes, let's start talking specifically about that. The first thing I wanted to ask about is obviously in the past, Gavin's had, flashes, visions, but they're memories of what happened to him when he was a kid. So can you talk about the flash that he has about Eve? Because it seems to me that's different.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's one of the things we're going to explore in the back half of the season. But most importantly, this vision of Eve dying and her death is something that's going to drive a story in a big way in the back half of the season, knowing that that might be around the corner at any time. And it's really going to up the stakes for for all of our characters needing to protect Eve, but also, increasing the stakes of, wanting to get her out of here into a safer place. So we will get into some of the, mythology behind it, but also most importantly is what it does emotionally to our family. They've come down here. By the end of episode 6 and into episode 7, the family's, been reunited. They're together for the first time in the show. But now in 10,000 BC, in the back half of the season, how they stay together emotionally is going to be another complicating factor. And the specter of Eve's death is something that's going to be at the center of that.
Can you, I guess, talk a bit about maybe why he didn't tell them? I mean, was it just maybe like momentarily, I don't want to tell them till we jump through, or is he just wanting to hide it again? Because now they know it like was real. They don't think he's, imagining things at this point.
I think it was a few things that were happening. One, him knowing that he had to go back now in order to help Caroline upload the virus to shut down the portal. Like he had to go back down there. Two, I think is, shock. It's like hard to process that idea right away, and he wasn't sure what to say. I think maybe if it had happened at any other moment, he might have thought about it more and and explained it. But it's a hard thing to tell your wife or your kids, like that you just had a vision of their potential death. So it was, I think, just a lot. It was just a lot for him to handle. He didn't quite know how to deal with it.
Right. So, are the two of them going to have, I guess, maybe a chance at a happy ending now that Levi, at least for right now, isn't with them? I mean, I guess it's possible he could meet up again with at some point, but
yeah, I think that'll be one of the main stories in the back half of the season is now that they're together, can their relationship be healed? And it's not going to be such a simple thing. They do love each other, but there are a lot of complications in their relationship. And one of the things that's going to be at the center of it is James, Gavin's father, who he's someone who's very important to Gavin. He's his father who he's never known. And also potentially holds the key to them getting home eventually because he controls this building, which has this portal. But at the same time, he's someone we're not sure if we can trust. I think Gavin wants to be able to trust his father. But Eve is going to feel very differently about him because of everything she's learned about who he is and what he's done. So that is going to be at the center of something that might divide Gavin and Eve. Whether they can eventually, become the couple that they were, before our story began will be one of the things we're going to be following during the season. I think the audience is definitely rooting for that, and for the family.
Is there anything else about the back half that besides what I asked about that you can tease that's coming up that fans will get to see?
Well, there's, there will be new animals, new exciting animals that we're going to see. There's going to be a wedding.
Okay.
So I think, there's going to be the survival stories that we like, but also, they are down here now and they're trying to make a life here. People never lose track of wanting to get home, but it's also, we have to make the best of it here. So part of that will be, forming new relationships, at a wedding, where people can find, joy and levity in the midst of all of this. There will be emergence of new characters. We're also going to, one of the things that's really important for the audience to know is that even though we've explained part of the mythology, like why these sinkholes exist,
Mhm.
that the building behind it, there are more layers to what's going on down here, and deeper stories that we're going to start to hint at as we get into the back half of the season, which are going to drive our story deeper into season 3. So there's a lot of exciting character twists and deepening of mythology, stories that we're excited for the audience to see.
You mentioned season 3. Is that like been announced, or you just are hoping for season 3? I didn't know.
Hasn't been announced, but
Okay, I didn't think so.
we're hopeful.
Yeah.
But as we got into the back half, as you get to the end of season 2, we want to be setting up stories for
Right.
season 3. So that's part of the storytelling is we want to be teasing more stuff to come. So we've got a lot of fun ideas and things that we know would happen in a potential season 3, and hopeful that we will get that will happen and we can continue the story.
Yeah, I definitely hope so. So when you first created this show, did you have like a long-term, like you talk about getting ready for season 3, did you have like a this is season 1, this is season 2 type of thing plan, or did it just kind of come more organically? How much did it change since then, I guess, is my other question.
I've always had, from the beginning of the conception, I've always had tentpole ideas that I knew I would want to happen in future seasons, places where I'd want to begin and end seasons. But I think one of the fun parts of the storytelling process is that things change, new ideas emerge, you get new perspectives from different people. So I think keeping yourself open and fluid is a necessary part of particularly telling a story this sprawling and complicated. But I have held on to certain ideas that I haven't let go, and do have ideas for whenever that time comes that we have to wrap up the show, how I'd want to end it. But never wanted to pin myself down to, it's going to be this number of seasons, because I think it's a show that has a lot of storytelling potential, in terms of the characters and mythology. So, I think being a storyteller, you can adapt and move, but it's important to hold on to the things that are really important. And that's what I've tried to do.
Right. I like how this season it's not all 10,000 BC. I think a lot of people probably assumed at the beginning that it was going to be, 2 time periods. So I like that that's kind of changed. There's a lot of shocks in this show, a lot of big twists. What's your favorite out of them? Or do you have, maybe you don't have a favorite, but can you pick?
It's a good question. I think in season 1, I would say that revealing, that Gavin was Isaiah was a fun one. I think learning this in season 2, learning about Gavin's true connection to 10,000 BC, that his family was in charge of this building and in charge of the creation of the time travel and ultimately these sinkholes. I think that was a fun one. Yeah, those are 2 that jump out for me right away.
All right. What's your favorite scene so far this season then?
Probably the scene where Gavin and Eve reunite for the first time. That's something that we've been wanting to see for so long, the audience. I think, when will these 2 come together? And just the way that they look at each other and the way they come together, I found to be pretty emotional. Also, the moment that Eve reunites with Izzy at the end of episode 3,
Yeah.
I found that to be a really emotional moment. And it's still, like, every time I watched it, it still got me. Yeah, I think those 2 stick out a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing the back half eventually and finding out what happens.
Yeah, we'll be on again in the end of January, and we've got 7 more episodes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Are you too?
Bye bye.